I want to tell you a story, B. The story of a guy I met by chance who turned into the greatest friend. A friend I consider a hero and the best human being I've ever had the fortune to meet. Be me. 18. 2002. Live in small, middle-sized town all my life. Never a popular kid. Always had a problem with confidence. Always the shy kid at school. The antisocial freak. Spend most of my time indoors playing video games or watching TV. Even after high school, still be a nerd. I had a few friends, most of them just as nerdy and antisocial as I was, but we were okay together. Play video games together, get drunk in our houses, and eat pizza and shit. Never go out, never party, never work. Only one of us drove, a kid from my street with greasy as fuck hair. There's 5 of us in total. One evening, we all decided to go for a drive into town and grab McDonald's or whatever. Bear in mind, this was almost 11 years ago. Yes, I'm 29. Afterwards, we go to a store and pick up some booze and go for a drive up this hill that has a brilliant view of the sunset. Gay, I know, but fuck it. We get there and drink, no one else around, starting to watch the sun drop below the horizon. One of my friends points out someone walking up the hill in not American army fatigue pants and a green short-sleeved t-shirt, wearing a backpack. We watch him march straight up the hill towards us. This hill is pretty fucking steep and at least a mile walk from the bottom. He gets to the top and looks at us. We all stare back at him. He looks at his watch and presses a button on it. He's sweating like a motherfucker and pulls out a bottle of water from his pack, glugging down at least a third of it. Afterwards, he gives us a nod. Alright, lads. His accent is unmistakably British. I didn't know then, but now I know it's North London. Cockney. He's not tall and not short, about average height and had quite beefy muscles, but he wasn't built like a tank. Us, being antisocial morons, just stared at him. He finished off another session with the bottle of water and looked out at the sunset. Fucking beautiful, ain't it? Came up here a few days ago and watched it then. A few days ago? This guy walked this a few days ago as well? This is what I was thinking at the time. Being a shithead fat ass that I was, I couldn't understand why someone would regularly do exercise. He turned back to us. You fellas live around here then? We nod. One of us tells him the area that we all live. He nods. Yeah, I think I know it. I only got here last week, so I don't know much about the layout around here. We ask him where he came from. England. Apparently, he'd come over with his parents last week to live here for the next year or so whilst his granddad, a naturalized American, was sick. He seemed like a pretty cool dude. His name was Will, and he's 18 as well. He told us where he lived. We all knew it. It was only about a half mile from where we all went to school. After about an hour of talking, it felt like 15 minutes, we offered to give him a ride back. It's dark out now, and he accepts. We drive him back and say our goodbyes. We invited him over to one of our houses the following day for a video game session, which he seemed to like the idea of. The next day, he comes over. We're already round. He pulls out a 6-pack of beer and hands it to Greasy Hair Kid. Cheers for the lift yesterday, mate. We all play some vidya and we talk about him. He wants to go back to England in a year's time and join the British Army. Why the fuck would you want to join the army? Tells us it's always something he wanted to do. Good pay, roof over your head, pension scheme, etc. He sells it pretty well, actually. I really like him. He's super cool and mega chilled about everything, and he doesn't seem like an antisocial nerd at all, yet he's pretty smart, and I later found out good at everything the fucker tried his hand at. After a few hours, we decide to get something to eat. We decide to get a few pizzas, but the place we call up says it isn't delivering. Greasy Hair's car is in the shop because he fucked up the rear bumper and exhaust when he reversed into a wall. Englishman suggests we walk there. It's about a mile, and it hadn't even crossed our minds. Come on, it'll do you some good, he said, laughing. Me and Greasy Hair decide to go with him whilst the others stay at home. We're walking there, and me and Greasy Hair naturally go to walk around the street we don't go down. The diversion takes an extra 10 minutes, but we don't care. Will asks us why we don't go down it. The street is full of blacks, and it's basically a haven for a gang. We explain this to him, and he laughs. He won't walk down a street because of a few black thugs? He starts to walk down it. Come on, you pussies. Holy fuck, what is he doing? Greasy Hair looks at me like he's crazy. He looks over his shoulder, and he doesn't hear us following. Come on, it's like 100 meters. Fuck it. We run to catch up with him. Are all English people this crazy? I say to him. He just smirks like it's a secret or something. We're walking down, and there are at least half a dozen blacks out in the street, just hanging about. They stop and look at us, staring us down. I'm shitting myself, and by the look of Greasy Hair, so is he. Will has a pretty calm expression on, and he just watches them as we walk by. He watches them until they move past his natural peripheral vision and turns back to the street. I look back, and a few of them are still staring at us. A couple are going back inside houses. My heart is pounding like a motherfucker. We get to the end of the street and carry on walking to the pizza place. I'm literally shaking. I was so scared. Greasy Hair has turned white. Will just flashes us a toothy grin. You should see your faces. We get the pizza and walk back. He goes down the street again. We protest, but he's insistent. We can see them down the street. There seems to be more of them standing in the middle. He's persistent, and we agree to follow. We enter the street and walk about a third down it when they start to move. Some are walking on the opposite side, towards us. Others walk over the path we are on. Don't stop. Just keep walking. Don't break stride. Will still has that same calm expression on his face. The blacks are standing in the middle of the path, blocking it. The others, on the other side of the road, have walked behind us and are following. We're basically boxed in. We are hiding behind Will and trying to keep in step with him, even though we are both clearly shitting ourselves. As we get to about 10 meters of them, Will gives them a big smile. Alright lads, just passing through if you don't mind. They don't move, and one of them spits in front of him into the ground. Will stops. This fucking guy, this crazy fucking Englishman, has really fucked us now. Will just looks down at the spit, then back at them. He just stares at them for a second. The group of blacks following us is right behind us now, just watching us. Will finally speaks, but I wish he hadn't. Now, you listen to me, you cunts. You're gonna fuck off right now, and we're gonna walk down the fucking street. My stomach flips over inside me. Greasy hair looks like he's about to pass out. My limbs go cold. We're going to die. They don't move. A couple look slightly confused, but only for a second. One of them steps forward, right up to Will. He doesn't even flinch. So you're the main cunt then, are you? Good. Fight me. Right fucking now. The boss black looks back at his homies and laughs. Will takes a step back and takes off his t-shirt, tossing it to me. He has a pistol inside the waistband of his pants. He takes it out. They reach into their pockets, clearly on high alert. Will takes out the mag, removes the round from the chamber, and puts it into the mag. He gives me the gun and the mag and tells me to hold on to it. He looks back at them, who are looking serious. The boss black nods and takes off his own shirt. We all step back, and they begin to fight. Both have their hands up in the traditional manner of fighting, guarding against each other's attacks. The boss black tries a few jabs and Will goes straight in, sending about a half dozen punches in the space of a couple of seconds. Some to the face, some to the body. They begin to scrap properly. They fight for a few minutes before the boss black catches Will on the side of the head with a punch. Will falls down to the floor, holding onto a low wall for support. Everyone thinks he's done, including us. Will slowly pulls himself back up and turns to him. He goes down again, pulls himself back up, down again, and back up. He's getting good shots in on the black as well, and blood is starting to show on both of their bodies and faces. Will blocks a punch and side kicks him in the side of the knee. The boss black cries out and his knee collapses underneath him. Will sends in a couple of punches to his kidney and pushes him backwards. He falls to the floor. Both of them are fucked and trying to catch their breath. Suddenly, we hear sirens. We all turn, and a cop car is crawling down the street. Some of the blacks slowly disperse around the place. Will walks over to the black and offers his hand to help him up. He looks up at him. After a pretty tense second, the black takes his hand, and Will helps him stand up. The cop car pulls up, and the officers get out. "Afternoon, officers. What can we do you for?" The boss black and Will stand there, in front of the two cops, covered in blood and panting heavily. The cop looked them up and down and asked what's going on. Apparently, they had reports of a gang fight. Will just shakes his head and laughs. The black sees Will laughing and laughs too. "Nah, fellas, just a couple of friends doing some sparring. You know what I mean?" The officers ask some more questions, then get in their car and drive away. The black turns to Will. He tells him that he fights like an OG, and he respects him because of the cops and the gun. He says he can use the street whenever he wants. Will thanks him and collects his gun and shirt from me, and we walk on. By the time we get back to the house, me and Greasy Friend are so hyped we are literally bouncing, recounting the fight with second-by-second commentary. Will just stays quiet, smiling when we act out our favorite parts of the fight. We walk into the house, and everyone sees the blood over his body and his bruised face. Will just sits down and opens a pizza whilst me and the greasy hair kid tell everyone the story. No one can fucking believe it. I'm still in shock as well. We play vidya and mess about until the early hours in the morning that night. At one point, everyone is messing about in the rest of the house. Me and Will are in the living room watching TV. I ask him about the fight. I don't understand why he did it, why he even went down the street in the first place. "Listen," he starts. "It's not about being tough. It's not about being a martyr. It's not even about being such an obnoxious cunt that you think you can run the fucking world. There are times when you should fight, and times when you shouldn't. Walking down the street might be a small thing, but it starts with small things. If you don't want to fight the little things in life, how the fuck are you going to fight the big things? It's not for others. It's not for world peace or for fucking equality or some other shit. It's for yourself. It's so you can get to the end of your days and look back and think, instead of being pushed along with everyone else, doing what others do, thinking what others think, I fought my way here. I pushed everyone who was slowing me down out of the way, and I made a beeline directly for what I wanted. So fucking what if I get hurt along the way? So fucking what if I piss some people off? You can't please everyone in life. Even Jesus, who did nothing but preach about peace and love fucked people off so much that they fucking executed him. If you don't make the effort for yourself, why will anyone else? It's all about a state of mind, mate. I didn't have to fight that cunt, but I chose to because at the end of the day, there are those that want to do nothing but mutilate our way of life until it's unrecognizable. Look at those 9/11 fuckers. But are you just going to sit back and watch them, or are you going to stand the fuck up and say, get the fuck out of my way? I am walking down this street, and there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. Even years later, I didn't understand what he meant. That entire year, I spent most of my time with Will. He got me into exercise. We used to do long walks, what he called TABs, so British Army term for a long march with a pack on your back. He built up my confidence, took me out drinking, helped me out in a few tight spots. He was always there when I needed him, day or night. About halfway through Will's year, I met a girl. Nothing special, maybe a 6 out of 10, but she was my first real girlfriend. She was in a bar one night, and Will saw me looking at her. He didn't shut up about it until I went over to talk to her. Don't think of it as you are going over to chat her up. Think of it as you're going over to let her know you like her and you want to take her out. Be dominant and make it clear what you want. He was fucking brilliant with girls, and he was always chatting to a different one every time we went out. It was like he didn't even think it was a hard thing. He just did it like he was chatting to a mate he hadn't seen in years. His accent helped a bit too, which he admitted. Yank girls fucking love my accent, mate. Everywhere I go, I get looks from them the minute I open my mouth. It's brilliant. He'd laugh like he was fucking Santa Claus. I spent about a month with that girl until she started to mess me about. Not phoning, getting touchy about nothing in particular. I'd call up Will sometimes at like 4 a.m. and he'd sit on the phone and just talk with me. I don't know if it's just the British, but they really do know how to help a friend out. I began to see all my other friends as waste, just sitting around doing the same old shit. Eventually, I dumped her. I went to her house. Will stayed outside. Afterwards, he took me out to a diner and bought me lunch. He helped me get a job, filling my head with so much of the positive shit that I actually wanted to work in the end. His trick, which I understand now, was to just talk to you in a sensible manner and explain it to you like it was the simplest shit in the world. Why the fuck wouldn't you want to work? It's how we grow as a person, keeps you disciplined, builds up your skills, and gives you some cash in your pocket, mate. If you have to be somewhere Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, it forces you to get out of the house and be on time. He helped me look around for a job, and I got my first one working in a lawnmower sales/repair shop selling ride-on lawnmowers. By the time his year was up, I was a different person. I had tons of confidence. I'd gotten into shape. I was volunteering at a local charity store a couple days a week. I'd met a girl I was in a serious relationship with, and I'd made a lot of new friends through work and people I met through Will. We had a massive party the night before he had to leave. We held it at my house. My parents were away for the weekend. The place was packed with people. My old friends were there, being as socially awkward as they've always been. Will got destroyed and crashed out on my bed with the girl he'd met that night. He woke up the next morning. My house trashed. All his shit was packed at his house, so the only thing he had to do was go to pick it up and go to the airport. I came along for the cab ride. We arrived at the airport. He was clearly still hungover from the night before. We shook hands, and I wished him luck. He said he'd email me later on in the week and keep in touch, and hopefully he'd be able to drop in sometime. Some of his family was still out here, and we both thought it was highly likely. He left, got on the plane, and went back to England. We stayed in touch for a bit, but when he joined the army, he had very little spare time, and we stopped communicating. Years later, I'm married to the girl I was with, and she's expecting our first child. I get a knock on the door one day, and guess who it is? The fucking crazy Englishman from all those years ago. "Hello, mate." He flashed me his toothy grin. "How you doing?" I was so happy to see him I almost hugged him, but a handshake was all he let me have. He was out here to see some family whilst on leave, and he thought he'd drop by. He came inside and we talked. He congratulated me and my wife on our baby. He seemed really proud of me. We spent the afternoon having a barbecue and just talking about things. He asked about the other guys, who I said were still doing the same old shit. He laughed when he heard greasy hair kids still had the same car. We talked about his job in the army. I asked him what he did, and he said it was computer-based. Boring IT stuff, mate, which gave me a grin, which I didn't think much of at the time. Apparently, he'd been deployed a couple of times in Afghanistan and Cyprus. He said he loved the life, and he never wanted to leave the army. I asked him if he had a girlfriend or anything. He shook his head. "Not really. I don't have much time for girls, mate. Unlike you, you dark horse." "Does she know about all your women on the side?" He looked over at her and gave her a grin, which she returned with a sarcastic eye roll and smile. We talked a bit more, and I asked him if he was ever scared of dying. "Only if I die of old age, mate." I asked him what he meant. Surely he'd want a long life. He shook his head. "I'll be honest with you. I can't think of any way I'd rather die than in a battle. I know it sounds stupid to you, but I'd rather burn out than fade away. You know what I mean?" He He was right. It did sound stupid to me. I couldn't think of anything worse than leaving my wife and unborn child. He stayed in town for the week and dropped in a couple of more times. Then he went back home. It was brilliant to see him, and I really wish he could stay for longer, but that's the way things go. Fast forward a few more years. Me and my wife have our child, and she's expecting a second one now. Yeah, I know. I'm 27 and working full-time as a store manager in a franchise coffee shop. I'm in there one day, serving a customer, when I hear a thick North London accent from the front of the shop. "What do you mean, no PG tips?" I look over, trying to see who it is, even though I already know. "Alright, love, just give us whatever Yank substitutes for the real tea you have." Cue laugh. He looks over and catches my eye, clearly holding in a smile. "Manager, can I have a word?" I walk over, trying not to laugh. "I'd just like to say that I'm very offended you don't have any PG tips tea. How are us Brits supposed to get our tea fix?" "I'm very sorry, sir." "It's okay, this one can be on the house then, right?" I can't help but laugh, and he laughs with me. I take a break and go over to the table and chat with him. "How did you know where to find me?" "Your missus let me know." "Congrats on the new kid. You and her are pumping them out like Nike products at a Filipino sweatshop." We talk about my work and how everything's been. I ask him about the army, and he tells me it's been good. I feel like he stops short of telling me something. I press him. "I moved on a bit, mate." I inquire as to what he means. "Just new opportunities. A bit more dangerous, but it's all good fun." He gives me a wink and changes the subject. I don't press him after that. If he doesn't want to tell, I won't ask. I ask if he's found a girl yet. "Yeah, about a year now. She's fucking gorgeous and, He didn't want to say it, but I knew he wanted to. He loved her. She's got great tits as well, mate." His Santa Claus laugh shook the table. Typical Englishman. He was over for a couple of weeks this time. He managed to score some leave and wanted to come see me. He spent those 2 weeks staying in our guest bedroom. We'd go out drinking some nights and stay in watching a football game on other nights. Whatever we did, I loved it and had fun because it was with Will. To this day, I don't know what it was about him, but he gave everyone around him this magic feeling. He wasn't particularly loud or wanted to be the center of attention. He was just the kind of guy that loved fiercely and was passionate about everything. Although he'd never let on, he kept his morale and ethical beliefs to himself unless you really bugged him about them. The last night he was with us, I talked to him about the army again. He'd had a few beers, so he seemed a bit more open and relaxed. "Yeah, I've been to a few places now. Afghan, parts of Africa, Germany, Falklands. I was even up in Las Vegas for a while. They have the Central Drone Command place up there." I ask him the obvious question. "Have you ever killed someone?" He laughs. "I was wondering when you were going to ask that." He took a sip of his beer and nodded. "Yeah, I have." He didn't elaborate any further than that. "Really? How many?" I was kind of excited. My friend was a soldier, and I was just starting to realize that. He shook his head with a closed lip smile. "You can't ask me that, mate. It's not good etiquette. Besides, it's not like we note down how many ragheads we've slaughtered every time we go out on patrol. I thought you were computers and stuff. Why are you on patrol at all?" He just smiles. "Everyone is a soldier first, mate. If they need you to fight, you fight. You know what I mean?" I wasn't convinced, but I never really did find out what he did day to day. He was very cagey about it and always used to change the subject or bat me away with humor. Now I think about it, if he didn't want me to know that badly, I probably wouldn't have wanted to know. After the 2 weeks, Will leaves for England. I get a few emails from him, and one day, about a year ago, I get a letter through the mail. It was a wedding invitation to Will and his wife-to-be's wedding. Accompanying it was a letter written by him. He really wanted me to come, but he'd understand if I couldn't make it. He offered to pay the airline tickets, but I told him I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. I went with him on his stag night with all his army mates. It was great fun, even though I was a filthy Yank. They all made me feel like I'd been there forever because I was such a good friend of Will's. The wedding was brilliant. It was in a beautiful church in the south of England. Fucking beautiful countryside everywhere. I met his wife, who was a great girl and really was gorgeous, and did really have great tips. The reception was great. It was in the Vantage Hall, where his parents were originally from. I met his wife, who was a great girl, and really gorgeous, and did really have great tits. The reception was great. It was in the village hall where his parents were originally from. Whilst there, I got to talking to a few of Will's army buddies. I asked them what they all did. They said they worked with Will. When I asked them what that was, they all seemed to clam up a bit. "Will never told you details?" "Never. He's always been very secretive." There was a slight pause in the conversation, which they tried to cover up. Well, you know how it is, mate. Probably doesn't want to slip you into a coma with all the details about what it takes to wire up a PC for the army network." They all laugh, and a few of them get up to go have a dance. The subject gets changed faster than I can realize what's going on. After the reception, I stumble back to the hotel Will has put us up in with my wife. My parents are looking after our kids. We get to the hotel, and about a half hour later, I get a call. It's Will. Hey mate, sorry to disturb you so late. I can't be long, but the missus is getting ready for the night. He laughed his special laugh down the phone, and I couldn't help but smile. I just wanted to say I'm really glad you came, and I enjoyed seeing you again. I told him I enjoyed it too. Our flight was the next day, so we wouldn't see him before he went away for the honeymoon. Email me when you get back from the honeymoon, okay? Will do, buddy. He pauses, and I can hear a muffled voice in the background. I gotta go, mate. Duty calls. He's still laughing as he hangs up. I smile to myself and crash out on the bed with my wife. A few weeks later, we're back in the US, carrying on with our lives. The kids are growing up, and I've been given a pay raise at work. Life is going great. About 6 months later, I get an email from Will telling me his wife is 4 months pregnant. He sent pictures of her huge belly and even bigger tits. I email him back my congratulations. He tells me we'll have to meet up after his baby is born. He'll bring us over to England again, and he can show us around where he lived as a kid in London. I wish him well and tell him to keep me informed. 5 months later, a month ago, and what do you know? It's a baby boy. He's named him Samson, and he looks just like his dad. He tells me he's going to sort out a trip for us to come over and see them all. I tell him to let me know when a good time for him is. A month goes by, and I don't hear anything. Be me, 29. Yesterday morning, I get a call from Will's wife. She tells me to sit down. There's a tense note in her voice. Oh, fuck. I sit down on the chair and ask her what's wrong. It's Will. Her voice breaks off, and I can hear her trying to keep it together. Oh, fuck, no. There's no easy way. He's dead. He died a few days ago. My whole fucking life just sinks in front of my eyes. I don't even know what to do. I don't... How? Is all I can manage. She's trying to hold it together, but I can hear her beginning to break. He was in a firefight, and he got hit. The guys say he tried to carry on, but she breaks away and begins to cry. I feel like I'm sinking into my chair, my very being crumbling away. I hear a baby begin to cry in the background of the phone. His fucking son. I have to go. I'll call you tomorrow to let you know when the funeral will be. She hangs up. I drop the phone onto the table. Holy fuck. Will. His wife called me again today. The funeral is in a week's time. I'm flying over to say goodbye to him one final time. I still don't have the full details of what happened to him. Even his wife won't say much, so I have a feeling I'm not going to find out. Will, tonight I'm going to raise a glass of Jack and toast it to you, my old friend. You made me into who I am today. Your love for friendship and your ability to change those around you for the better. Your deeds will stay with me, and they always will. I'll tell my children about you. The acts of compassion and bravery I saw you perform over the years could fill a book, but for the time being at least, they'll have to remain memories. You got your wish, mate. You died in the battle just like you wanted. This is to my friend Will, the fameless hero.